Hi, Donna. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Donna Bogataj. We moved here in 2007. My past experience is I have been a secondary teacher. I retired from Woodhaven High School. My area of expertise is business and computer applications. Um, for 7 years after I left teaching, I worked for the intermediate school district in Wayne, and I did oversights for funding for vocational education. I had to go into the high schools and make sure that they were doing what they say they were doing with their money. It was really interesting. I met a lot of really neat teachers and looked at a lot of different schools. It was a lot of fun. Since then, we have been here. We've met a lot of people. We've done a lot of things, obviously, over 14 years, and we've really enjoyed being here.
Fantastic. What past experiences do you have working as a committee member or working with a group to problem solve and create positive solutions?
The biggest problem that I had in my working life is when Patrick Henry had to close down because they had structural problems, and we had to figure out what we were going to do with the students. And since I was the department head of the business department, I was asked to be on a committee to try to figure out how we were going to run our day. They wanted to have Patrick Henry in the afternoon and the high school run in the morning. So we had to change all the schedules, room assignments, how to get the books there. It was a huge project, but we ended up doing it, and the school year started out pretty well and ran pretty effectively for 1 year, and then they were back into their own school. That was one thing. The second major thing that I worked on was in our church. I was on the finance committee, and they were in need of a roof, just like we are here. And we did a lot of research to find out. We had an old Michigan flat roof, and those are really difficult to try to maintain. In the process of getting the money for the roof, they asked for a garage, and we had to figure out where that money was coming from. So we had to do a lot of exploring on how we can get some money to do both of those projects. They both completed, and pretty much everyone was happy with that. And then here, the most recent project that I was working on was with the Lodge and Amenities Committee that I was on for a year. And we needed to update the hallways here in the lodge. They were not working well. They were looking kind of grubby, if you will. And so we were asked to work with the lifestyle committee, who had a lot of really good ideas to modernize them and to make them more efficient and look pretty, actually. And I worked with them, and it was really a good experience. We worked together very well, and I think the place looks great. The changes they made were really positive.
Fantastic. What qualities do you believe a neighborhood representative should embody and bring to the board in order to create and promote a harmonious community relationship?
Well, first of all, we have to be able to communicate with everyone. It doesn't matter who you are. We need to be able to talk to you and see what your problems are. We have to be open enough so that your neighbors will feel comfortable to come to you and talk to you. The next thing we have to do is communicate their ideas or their problems or their concerns to the board. And sometimes the board will agree and be able to work that out, and sometimes they won't. I have to be able to go back to that same neighborhood, and tell them no or yes, whatever that happens to be. I think I can do that. I've done that, during education. I had to talk to parents forever. That was always a challenge. So I think I can handle the neighbors in my own vicinity. I think so.
Okay. What do you consider to be the greatest challenge for your individual community right now? And how would you resolve it?
Yeah, the biggest challenge, because our community, I'm in the sites community, which is the biggest one, and we have all these different phases that came in. I'm in phase one, and phase one is having some very large difficulties with their landscaping. Things are overgrown. They weren't taken care of properly. They weren't maintained. They weren't cut back. Like, they had shrubs that are overgrown, and they're really unsightly right now. And the problem seems to be who's replacing them. How do we get them replaced? What do we do? And that is a concern that most of them have. It's a big challenge, and right now we're trying to work on it through the landscaping committee, and those things have to go to the board, and we need their help, basically.
Okay. Under what circumstances do you believe a special assessment to the community would be necessary?
When you run into a situation that needs to be taken care of that was not planned for, you have a couple choices. You can use the reserve fund or you can use the assessment pathway. And sometimes the assessment pathway is the only one that's available to you. Now, in order to do that, you have to convince people that the project that you're doing is going to make their property value go up, that they're going to be able to see some return for that money. And sometimes you just have to realize that that's an important thing that needs to be done. We've been here 14 years and have not had an assessment. And if we would need one for a particular project now, we would hope that in the future, the budget planning would be in such a way that we would not have to ask for one again.
Okay. What are 3 physical improvements you would like to see at Bridgewater, and what will you do to see them accomplished?
Number 1, our lodge is beautiful, and we want to keep it that way. It is getting a little out of date. 14 years of living here, all the activities that we've had, it's starting to show. And some of the furniture, maybe the decor, it needs to be looked at. I can't go too much longer without having something done with it. Right now we have a roof, of course, that has to be done. So this is one of the things that need to be looked at. Walk out the back door and look at Freedom Park. Freedom Park has not been touched since we moved in. It is in great need of some sprucing out. We have a concrete square in the back that no one really knows what it was supposed to be for, but we have some really good ideas, but that's going to require some money. We have barbecue grills that are rusty and not being used. We have a horseshoe pit. I think that's what it is. It's hard to find, but it's out there, but that needs to be taken care of. So really, we need to spruce up the back area and make it usable. The tennis courts are very much in need of help. They're really falling apart. That would be a major. And the last thing is the entryway coming in off of Van Horn onto Grand Traverse. We have dead trees all as you come into the left. That's all you see is the dead evergreens, which are unsightly. We have a lot of places they've taken the trees out and not replaced them. And because they haven't done that, we have this terrible fence over on the side. And that's what our visitors see when they come. So that really needs to be adjusted. It really needs to be looked at.
Okay. Any last words?
Only that I think we have a wonderful community. And I think that we need to keep communicating, talking to each other. It grew. I mean, when I came here, there were 50 to 100 houses, and now there's over 600. It's not easy, but it can be done if we all work on it. And I think the board has to be the leader of this communication process. I think they have to listen, and they have to try to help people and communicate with them. And that's what I hope to do if I end up being elected to the board.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you.